So imagine who you need to be in order to attract what you perceive that you need, of how your ego consumes you and how your ego can either help you or break you. Acting as the person that you already envision in your mind that you are, in order for that to start coming into your reality. What's going on, guys? Thank you so much for joining me on another episode for Walking Manifestator. And in today's episode, I want to talk to you about how imagination truly creates your reality. I want to kick off this episode by reading you a quick little reference here from Neville Goddard. If you do not know who Neville Goddard is, I highly recommend that you look into him. He has so many different theories that have also been embedded into understanding better how the brain works, how we can perceive, how we can create. And a lot of these teachings also drive from ancient teachings that were already there to begin with for us to just discover. So here we're going to start off by, man is all imagination. God is man and exists in us and we in him. The eternal body of man is the imagination. That is God himself. Blake. All right, so I'm going to start off by giving you a quick rundown as to what I use to allow me to really stay in a state of flow. Okay, now I have an abbreviation which is IAE. The first one is going to stand for imagine. The second one, being the A, is going to be for act. And the last one, E, being embody. Now, I think this is something that if you can start really implementing it and allowing the external noise to dissipate and now really starting to focus on you, your temple, and what information you are giving and allowing to be within you, this is going to tremendously change your destination. Wherever it is your destination is, but this is going to take it up a notch. And the reason for that is because until you recognize what you're really here to do, until you recognize the true power that you have within you, until you recognize the amazing being that you really are, you will never really even tap the surface of the potential that you have. So with that being said, I want to make sure that I encourage you to leave down below any questions, any theories that maybe you want to elaborate on, because this is the whole point of this podcast. It's a community. It's a community for us to grow and learn from one another. It's a community where we are here to share teachings from other amazing teachers in history that is going to allow you to break free from the matrix. And with that being said, I want to actually kick off this next point by talking a little bit about what the matrix is. So the matrix is essentially the womb. Okay, a lot of people have seen the Matrix movie and they think, oh, the Matrix, like that one movie, red pill, blue pill, like, you know, the 3D situation, stimulation. So in reality, the word comes from womb. And the womb, essentially, as you might be familiar, maybe you're not, but we'll elaborate briefly, is going to either nourish you or it's going to kill you. And it's going to take away from you, from your essence. Think about a fetus, right? I'm not sure if you're aware, but there are certain people that actually need to have a medicine in their blood system in order for them to be able to actually carry out a term, being, you know, when you're pregnant. I was one of those people. So with my first pregnancy, I actually had to have a injection essentially, because if I didn't, my body was going to do what it first did when I had a miscarriage. And essentially it was going to kill my baby because my blood type was going to actually go against its blood type. It goes a lot more elaborate than what I'm basically giving you the gist of. But I want to share this with you because when you can understand that, and you can understand that either the womb can give or can take, I want you to put yourself in that state of this world being the womb, and it can either nourish you or it can take from you. So when we talk about all these perspectives in life, I feel like a lot of the times people get so consumed by the left or the right, being you either believe in something that supports your ideas, your growth, your life experiences, or you're against that person. And now that person becomes an enemy. And I strongly believe that that is the reason why it's designed the way that it is, because if you think about it, divide and conquer. By dividing people, you will be able to actually conquer the mind, conquer the essence of what we truly are. And if you would have shared this with me 6-7 years ago, I would have looked at you like you were crazy and you should go to the asylum, right? And the reason this is so important to really start analyzing is because we are going through a shift. Whatever the reason it is that you're listening to this episode right now, whatever the reason it is that it came across your platform, wherever you found it, I do believe that that energy is out there and you are choosing to either receive it or deny it. And I think that we can all agree on the fact that we all have choices in life. Are you gonna eat that piece of cake, or are you gonna go to the gym? Are you going to go for that person that treats you right, or are you gonna go for the pretty face that maybe isn't going to actually give you the level of understanding in a relationship that you need? Are you going to be that parent that is as involved as you possibly can, or are you gonna go out and party all the time and neglect your obligations? We have choices. Now, the interesting part of this is that for the most part, we have been designed to try and blame somebody else for the choices that we have made. Whether it's I am not pretty enough, whether it's I don't have enough money, whether it's I just didn't have the right upbringing, or a culmination of other things that we continuously tell ourselves in our society. This is why it's so important to really discover who we are and what is our life's mission. And it doesn't matter whatever your mission is. I am not here to tell you this is how you should live your life. I am not here to tell you this is what you should think or believe in. I'm simply here to offer a different perspective, like I was once offered. I started really diving into this material when I was about 16 years old, and I really wasn't ready for that. I read my first book by Eric Talihe, and I didn't understand it. It was talking about the ego. It was talking about these different perspectives of how your ego consumes you and how your ego can either help you or break you. And none of that stuff was making sense to me. I felt like I was reading a different language. I kid you not. When I talk about these things now, I've noticed there's a lot of people that don't actually understand some of this stuff, which is why I want to try and break it down for you as best as I possibly can, coming from somebody that wasn't born into this perspective. My son, very different. I'm teaching him about your mind and how you can create things with your mind and how you're going to attract more things into your life. I never had that growing up, but it's never too late to start. And the first point that I'm going to share with you is the I. So imagine who you need to be in order to attract what you perceive that you need. So the best way I can explain that to you is when we're thinking of something, for instance, Alexander Graham Bell. He is a person that in history was looked at as crazy once upon a time. They looked at him as crazy because he wanted to essentially create a device that was going to allow people to communicate from one point of the world to another point of the world. Therefore, that was something that was completely unheard of, and everybody that heard his theory at that time looked at him as if he needed to go to the mental institution and he should not be out here with the rest of the people. Funny enough, most of the people that are trailblazers, most of the people that tend to think outside the box, oftentimes get misjudged, oftentimes get labeled as crazy because they're not following the herd. They are going outside of the blocks that we have been given. And when you think about it, now you're able to use the device you have because other people carried out that same idea that he once created in his imagination into this 3D world. And now other people have actually piggybacked off of that idea and created what we have now, which is our cell phones, our TVs, our frequencies that we are able to tap into. that otherwise would have never been available. So when I'm talking about the I in the IAE abbreviation here, the I really needs to signify, what do you want? What is that thing that you so desperately desire? And I get it, you know, the human in us wants more money sometimes. Maybe you want to be more time with your family. Maybe you want just to have a better job. Maybe you just want to be off, you know, the grid. Maybe you just want to have better sustainable food. Whatever it is. This is why I told you, I'm not here to tell you what you should think and be your imagination. I want to offer you perspective. And whatever that imagination thing is for you, you need to get so clear that nobody can steer you away from it. I'll give you an example. Walking Manifestator. For me, this is something that I am so clear, and I continue to get more clear on. I won't lie to you about that, because there's certain things that I'm still like, where can this be changed? Where can this be improved? But for the most part, I have my goal of what I want this to symbolize. I want Walking Manifestator to be a platform where we talk about different perspectives, different ideas, where we can allow a safe space for us to grow, for people to have the ability to truly nourish their mind, their spirituality. And I want to take this across the globe. I want to be able to say, this is something that is across the country, that is going to allow different countries to also embody, for us to be collectively a better society. Not just a better race, not just a better country, a better society in the term of everywhere around the world. And in order for that to happen, there's a lot of things that need to play out. But if I don't have an actual goal, how can I ever expect this to happen? How can I expect to align with the right people? How can I expect to know where the end result is if I don't even know what the end result is in my head? So the imagination part, for example, when I first started with real estate, I was doubted by so many of my peers. A lot of people in my family, they were like, oh my gosh, you're getting into real estate? Like, what? No, of course you're not going to succeed in that. How could you ever think you're going to do good on that? Because of my past. And for those of you that haven't heard my first episode, I share a lot about my story. But essentially, because of my hard upbringing, they thought this is not possible for you. Therefore, their limiting beliefs were also trying to limit my beliefs. But for me, I've always been very stubborn, so I didn't listen to that. And I thought, the heck I am, I'm gonna show you. And that's kind of where it started, right? I was reading a book by Patrick Bet-David that was talking about your first 5 moves. And it's essentially talking about how sometimes certain things are going to trigger certain people and motivate certain people. And one of the things he talked about that motivates most of us is either thinking about the things that are going to be so great and grandiose that we want to work for, or some of the bad things that people have told us that now we're like, we're going to show you what I can do, right? That was me. When I was first starting to really like grow into, you know, what I wanted to be in real estate, I was like, I'm going to show these people that I am not this bum person that they perceive me to be. And I'm going to show my family and everybody that has seen me growing up how badass I can be. Well, that is only going to take you up to a certain point in your life. Okay, because if you're always focusing on how other people's ideas of you should impact how you move forward in terms of how you visualize yourself, it's a very limited chain. However, when you start focusing on what is the big vision here? What is the end result for me? I think that is going to be a lot more motivating than all the negativity that has happened in your life. Again, it's a great place to start for a lot of us, right? We need that fuel. But now changing it into something that can really push us to the next limits. And imagining is going to allow you to tap into that. Now, the second one is acting. Acting as the person that you already envision in your mind that you are, in order for that to start coming into your reality. So I'm going to share an example there. When I first started getting into everything geared around real estate, I really started to act like I was a big player, even though I wasn't even a tadpole in the big pool here available, right? I envisioned myself being somebody that was amazing. I envisioned myself servicing my clients. I envisioned myself wearing like actual nicer clothes, because at that time I had first gotten into real estate. I didn't have a lot of money. I wasn't actually able to afford a lot of different styles or outfits, and I was kind of wearing the same thing. So I started just envisioning that every time I would wear something, it was something new. I envisioned that I would go to the store and be able to afford things without looking at my bank account and worried about, am I going to be able to afford this? There were so many little things. I would actually write out on applications. I was making $100K a year. That was my goal, right? I was just so clear on the fact that I could see that in my mind, that I wanted to bring that into my 3D reality. So acting as that person that is already there, right? It's like you can feel it, you can see it, you can smell it, you can almost taste it. You're like, I'm not quite there, but I know I'm there, right? Acting as that, right? Like when you go out and you're gonna have a meal with somebody and the bill comes around and it's time for you to tip the person. Are you gonna be stingy and are you gonna tip them a $2 bill? Or are you gonna be that end result version of you and tip them the 20, 30% that being that person you would tip, instead of focusing on, man, I really don't want to give her that extra 20 bucks, right? These things are helping you start tapping into a higher frequency. And this is why when we talk about your mindset, right, your imagination actually creating your reality, it really goes into the fact that if you cannot imagine something already happening, how can you expect that to be? How do you think that these amazing people in history were able to create something without them first thinking about it? And this is what you need to do in order for you to start tapping into that set of the assumption and acting as if that's already something that's in your energy. A lot of people get confused when they talk about manifestations. They think that the first law is actually the law of attraction. However, it's actually the law of one. The law of one basically symbolizes that you are everything. You, by becoming everything, by actually becoming everything, you are nothing. By being nowhere, you are everywhere. By being no one, you are everyone. So this is something that really magnetizes the level of connected oneness to everything, in order for you to start really analyzing, like, hey, I am abundant. I am amazing. I am healthy. Giving yourself that grace to really understand that it is within you. And now we're going to tap into this last part, which is really your E, embody. Visualize your future self already being what you are, and going from shifting your mindset from the desire to the knowing. And the best way I can explain this to you is, most of us, when we're thinking about something, most of us, when we want something, we think, okay, I really want to be rich. I really want to have a nice house. I really want to have a beautiful husband or a beautiful wife. I really want this partner that is going to be amazing. By saying that you want these things, that means that you are accepting that you don't have those things. And I know it sounds crazy, because trust me, when I first heard that in one of the books I read, I was like, you want me to act like I'm already going to sleep with my husband that's not there? Okay, crazy. And then I tried it out. And then I started trying it out with the things that I really wanted at that time, right? I started going to sleep in the assumption of knowing that I was abundant in every single way. I was abundant in my bank account. I was abundant with my boys. I was abundant with my health. I was abundant with my spirituality. I was abundant with my mindset. I was abundant with the people that continue to be in my energy. And I was also abundant in my wisdom. And that allowed me to tear down a lot of people-pleasing habits that I had, that allowed me to start breaking from a lot of things that were not serving me. And that in turn allowed me to start really aligning with the right path. And I'm telling you, a lot of people think that when you're on this journey of growth and manifestations and bringing into your existence all this different energy into your life, a lot of people think that it's like peaches and cream, right? That everything is just perfect, and that everything is just gonna work out in the best possible way, and that nothing bad is gonna ever happen. That could not be furthest from the truth. When you are in a growth journey, there's going to be certain things that are going to feel like you are in turbulence mode, 100%. but how do you react is what's going to allow you to start solidifying the synchronicities. Because the universe is going to give you what you perceive to be. The world is as you perceive it to be. That doesn't mean there's not bad things happening. That doesn't mean there's not good things happening. That means that you're going to bring more energy in the things that you actually are placing energy into, attention into. So when you're going into this growth and you're going into this mindset of saying, hey, how can I become somebody that is truly abundant in all sense of the word, all sense of the meaning behind it, and not just abundance in money, maybe abundance in opportunities, abundance in synchronicities, abundance in the fact that I am so lucky. These things start to play a factor, and these things allow you to start tapping into higher frequencies, which is going to allow you to start surrounding yourself with the right people. And I am telling you, you are the average of the 5 people that you surround yourself with. However, I will elaborate even further. You are the average of what you are also surrounding yourself with in terms of material that you are putting attention to. What music are you listening to? What places are you hanging out around? What things are you watching on your social media? All these things are the human in you. All those things are the things that you have created gradually, that you have gotten accustomed to. And until you become aware of the things that you need to work on, you will forever be in the same place. I see so many people talk about manifestations in this field of growth and all this stuff. And it's so crazy how there's so many people that will talk about manifestations, and they talk about energy, and they talk about the growth and all these things that they have planned, which are beautiful, but then they're going and tearing down other people behind their back. Or that one thing happens that they weren't happy about and they get upset and they blow up. Or they get into their human. I like to laugh with my friend and I say oh, I let my human come in, because when we're in our human, we are very much associated with things that are happening. So I was eating the other day, and my little son, my 3-year-old, who was acting crazy, and I ended up leaving the restaurant. It was just me and him. We were eating, and I was like, you know what? We're gonna leave. I got the poke bowl. I was super upset, right? Because I was sitting down. I was having a nice Sunday fun day with him. And I ended up leaving, and as I was leaving, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna park somewhere before we start driving back home. I'm gonna sit in the parking and I'm gonna eat my food. So I was trying to find the perfect spot, okay? The perfect spot to just sit there and have my food until I was able to move forward with, the rest of. So I get to the parking space, I sit down. Well, I'm already sitting down, obviously, but I essentially end up grabbing my bowl. And as I'm about to eat the bowl, I tilted. And in the most weird way, I spilled the bowl. My poke bowl was spilled all over me. And I just literally looked up and I started laughing. I was like, okay, my energy was very strong to the point where I just caused my own bowl to flip on me and fall on my lap. So I just kind of shrug it off. I started grabbing the pieces and kind of putting them back in the bowl. And that was just a moment where I could have acted in a way that was going to be very detrimental to my energy the rest of that day. But instead I said, you know what? I am going to move past this, and I am going to make the best out of this situation and enjoy my poke bowl. And this is something funny to some of you maybe listening, okay, poke bowl and life. But that is the thing about life. We get to choose where we're putting our energy. We get to choose how we want to live our life. We get to choose what we're going to decide is beneficial and not beneficial. And if you are around people that are not beneficial for you, if you are around things that are not helpful for you, if you are not putting yourself in the best position possible in order for you to truly grow and learn and evolve, then that's on you. And it's nobody else's fault but yours. So I want to invite you to not be so hard on yourself and instead just become aware of it. Become aware of it, visualize what you want, imagine it, start acting in the assumption that it's done, and then start going from thinking it will happen to knowing it will happen. Because you absolutely can have it all. And you are a walking manifestator. That is what you are here to do. You are here to create your reality. So with that being said, I want to thank you so much for those of you that have stuck around for this entire podcast episode. If there's anything particularly that you would like to talk about on our next episode, please let us know. As always, we invite you to leave comments so that we are able to make sure that we are addressing any questions or anything that might help you in your journey of manifestation, growth, development, whatever it is that you are working on right now. Thank you so much for watching this or listening, depending on where you came across this podcast. And with that being said, remember to visualize, remember to transcend in order for you to embody the walking manifestator that you are born to be. I hope you have a fantastic day.